Why is it that the people closest to us can sometimes hurt us the most? And why do we tolerate behaviors from family that we would never accept from anyone else? We don't like admitting it, but some of the deepest wounds don't come from strangers. They come from the people sitting across the dinner table. And because it's family, we convince ourselves to stay quiet, to minimize our pain, to excuse patterns that drain our energy and blur our boundaries. But silence never heals what someone keeps breaking. Stoic philosophy offers a different lens. You can't control their behavior, but you can control what you allow, what you respond to, and what access you give to your inner peace. Today, we're going to walk through 10 toxic behaviors you should never tolerate, not even from family. Because protecting your dignity is not disrespect, it's self-respect. Stay with me until the end, and if you're ready to reclaim your emotional space, comment, "I choose peace." 1. Toxic behavior. Emotional manipulation. Emotional manipulation is one of the most damaging behaviors you can ever face, especially when it comes from someone you love. When a person uses guilt, fear, or emotional pressure to control you, it doesn't matter if they're a parent, a sibling, or a partner. The impact is the same. They twist your words, question your memory, and make you doubt what you clearly saw and felt. Gaslighting becomes a pattern, not a mistake. Guilt tripping becomes a habit, not a misunderstanding. And the silent treatment becomes a weapon, not a moment of cooling off. Over time, you start wondering if you are too sensitive, too dramatic, or too demanding, when in reality, you are being emotionally manipulated. Stoic philosophy gives you a crucial anchor. The truth does not require someone else's permission. Your reality, your experience, and your emotional clarity belong to you. No one has the authority to rewrite your memory or define your intentions. Marcus Aurelius said that you should stand firmly in your perception, and this is exactly what emotional manipulators try to steal. Your confidence in what you know is real. The way out is not fighting harder, explaining louder, or proving yourself endlessly. It's following a simple Stoic protocol. Pause. State the facts. No emotional bargaining. When you pause, you disrupt their control. When you state facts instead of feelings, you remove the drama they feed on. And when you refuse emotional bargaining, the guilt, the pressure, the twisting, you take back the power they've been draining from you. Emotional manipulation only works when you doubt yourself. The moment you return to clarity, the dynamic breaks. 2. Toxic behavior. Disrespecting boundaries. When someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, what they're really telling you is that your comfort, your time, and your autonomy matter less than their convenience. This behavior is especially painful when it comes from family, because it often hides behind love, concern, or tradition. They show up unannounced and expect you to adjust. They question your choices as if they have veto power over your life. They feel entitled to your time, your energy, your decisions, simply because of a shared last name. And when you finally say, "I need space," they act offended, as if setting limits is a personal attack. But it's not. It's self-preservation. A Stoic sees boundaries not as walls, but as expressions of dignity. A boundary is a form of self-respect. It's the recognition that your life is not a public highway for people to walk through at will. Stoicism reminds us that your inner peace, your focus, and your values are within your control. And protecting them is a responsibility, not an option. Marcus Aurelius taught that we must guard our mind the way a city guards its gates. You decide who enters, you decide how long they stay, and you decide what behavior is allowed. The most powerful tool here is a simple one. No explanation boundaries. You do not need long justifications. You do not need emotional essays. You do not need to defend your choices. A clear, calm boundary is enough. I'm not available. That doesn't work for me. I prefer not to discuss this. When you stop over-explaining, you stop negotiating your self-worth. People who respect you will adjust. People who only wanted control will resist. And that resistance reveals everything. Boundaries don't push people away. They filter out those who are never willing to honor you in the first place. 3. Toxic behavior, chronic criticism, and belittling. Constant criticism is one of the most corrosive forms of toxicity because it doesn't break you all at once. It wears you down slowly. And when it comes from family, it often hides behind soft disguises. I'm just worried about you. I'm only trying to help, or I'm saying this for your own good. But the tone is never supportive. The pattern is never constructive. It's the same message repeated in different forms. You're not enough, you're doing it wrong, you should be more like someone else. Over time, these tiny cuts create deep wounds. You start doubting your abilities, minimizing your accomplishments, and shrinking parts of yourself to avoid criticism that was never meant to build you up in the first place. A Stoic separates emotion from evaluation. The key is learning to distinguish truth from poison. Not every piece of feedback is wisdom. Some of it is projection, insecurity, or disguised envy. Marcus Aurelius said that we must look at things objectively, without letting the judgments of others become the judgments we adopt about ourselves. Toxic criticism is not about your growth. It's about someone else's need for control or superiority. The Stoic lens frees you from taking every comment personally by asking a simple question: is this meant to help me, or is it meant to hurt me? The most effective response is subtle but powerful. Label the behavior, not the person. You don't need to attack them or defend yourself endlessly. You simply identify the harmful pattern with calm clarity. This feels more like criticism than support, or that comment wasn't helpful. When you label the behavior, you hold up a mirror without escalating the conflict. People who care will adjust. People who only want to dominate will get defensive, and their reaction will reveal what you need to know. Chronic belittling thrives in silence. It ends the moment you recognize it, name it, and refuse to absorb it as truth. 4. Toxic behavior. Emotional neglect. Emotional neglect is one of the most invisible forms of harm because it doesn't come from what someone does. It comes from what they refuse to do. They don't listen. They don't acknowledge your feelings. They don't offer empathy, support, or presence. And when you finally open up about your pain, they brush it off with lines like, "You're overreacting," "It's not a big deal," or "You're too sensitive." Over time, you stop sharing, you stop trusting, you start believing that your emotions are burdens rather than signals. Emotional neglect doesn't just create distance. It teaches you to silence parts of yourself just to maintain peace in a relationship where your inner world was never considered important. Stoicism offers a grounding truth that can feel harsh, but it is deeply liberating. You cannot expect from others what they cannot give. Some people simply lack emotional awareness, emotional maturity, or emotional capacity. Their inability to validate you says far more about their internal limitations than your worth. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that people act according to their nature, not our expectations. When someone is emotionally unavailable, it's not your job to drag empathy out of them or plead for understanding they do not possess. It is your job to recognize what is in your control and what isn't. The response to emotional neglect is not begging for more attention. It's strengthening the relationship you have with yourself. That begins with a self-validation ritual. Instead of waiting for someone else to acknowledge your feelings, you acknowledge them first. Name what you feel. Accept it without judgment. Remind yourself that your emotions are valid because they are real, not because someone else approves of them. When you validate your own inner world, you stop depending on emotionally unavailable people for nourishment they cannot provide. Emotional neglect loses its power the moment you stop outsourcing your worth. You become whole again, not because others showed up, but because you finally showed up for yourself. 5. Toxic behavior. Envy and hidden competitiveness. Envy inside a family is one of the most painful forms of toxicity because it feels like betrayal wrapped in a smile. You achieve something meaningful, a promotion, a new skill, a moment of happiness. And instead of pride or support, you're met with silence, sarcasm, or subtle jabs. They downplay your progress. They shift the conversation. They find a flaw to highlight. Sometimes they even redirect the attention back to themselves, as if your success threatens their place in the family hierarchy. Hidden competitiveness shows up quietly. They copy your ideas without acknowledging you. They compare themselves constantly, or they feel uneasy whenever you grow in ways they haven't. And slowly, without realizing it, you start shrinking your light just to avoid making someone else uncomfortable. From the Stoic perspective, envy is not about you. It's a mirror reflecting the other person's insecurity. A person grounded in their own purpose does not resent the growth of others. Marcus Aurelius taught that each of us has our own path, our own pace, and our own role within the larger order. When someone feels threatened by your progress, it reveals the gaps in their inner world, not a defect in yours. Their reaction is a projection, an attempt to pull you back to a level where they feel safe, equal, or superior. Stoicism reminds you not to take this personally, because someone else's insecurity is not your burden to carry. The healthiest response is simple but powerful. Detach from their comparison. You don't need to defend your success. You don't need to prove your worth. You don't need to compete with someone who has made life into a scoreboard. Instead, quietly refuse to participate. Protect your goals. Continue your growth and surround yourself with people who celebrate your wins instead of resenting them. Envious individuals lose their power the moment you stop playing their invisible game. Your journey is yours, and no amount of hidden competitiveness can dim a life driven by purpose rather than comparison. 6. Toxic behavior, constant blaming, and zero accountability. There is a special kind of exhaustion that comes from being blamed for things you didn't do, didn't cause, and didn't choose. People who refuse accountability make you the emotional shock absorber for every mistake, every failure, and every disappointment in their lives. If they lash out, it's because you provoked them. If they fall short, it's because you didn't support them. If something goes wrong, you should have known better. Over time, you become the designated problem solver, the emotional caretaker, the walking apology machine, even when you've done nothing wrong. This dynamic is especially painful within families because love is used as leverage. If you cared, you'd fix this. But what they're really saying is, take responsibility for me because I can't face myself. Stoicism cuts straight through this illusion with one liberating truth. You control your actions, not their stories about your actions. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that other people's judgments belong to them, not us. People who constantly blame others do so because it protects them from shame, growth, and self-reflection. Their refusal to be accountable is not a reflection of your performance. It's a reflection of their emotional immaturity. And the moment you internalize their blame, you step out of your lane and into a burden that does not belong to you. Stoicism teaches the opposite. Stay in your lane, hold your center, and separate what is yours from what is not. The antidote is a calm and steady shift of responsibility back to its rightful owner. Shift responsibility back calmly, not angrily, not defensively, but with clarity. You say things like, "That decision was yours," or "I can take responsibility for my part, not yours." When you stop absorbing blame, you stop feeding the cycle. Their anger may spike at first because you're no longer accepting the role they assigned you, but their reaction only proves the truth. The problem was never your behavior. It was their avoidance. And the moment you anchor yourself in clarity instead of guilt, you reclaim the emotional space they've been occupying. Boundaries don't just protect you from toxic behavior. They expose who is unwilling to take responsibility for their own life. 7. Toxic behavior. Financial or emotional control. Financial and emotional control is one of the most dangerous forms of toxicity because it disguises itself as care, support, or sacrifice, while quietly stripping away your independence. Someone gives you money, then uses it to dictate how you live. They offer help, then expect obedience. They remind you of everything they've done for you, not out of love, but as leverage. And when you try to make your own choices, they respond with guilt, manipulation, or emotional punishment. It doesn't matter if they're a parent, a sibling, or a partner. Control is control. When love becomes a transaction, you stop feeling loved and start feeling owned. Stoic philosophy brings you back to the core of human freedom. Your inner autonomy is sacred. Marcus Aurelius wrote that nothing has the power to imprison the mind unless the mind allows it. That means even when someone holds financial power, emotional history, or a long list of favors over your head, they cannot control your choices unless you surrender them. The Stoic lens reminds you that your dignity is not for sale and your life path is not a debt to be repaid. Real love does not require you to shrink. Real support does not demand obedience. Real family does not ask you to trade your independence for peace. The most effective response to this kind of control is a simple 3-step system. Document, decline, distance. You document the behavior, not to fight them, but to stay grounded in reality when they try to rewrite it. You decline the strings attached. Thank you, but I can handle this. Or, I prefer to make my own decision. And if the control continues, you create distance, emotional, financial, or physical. Because proximity to a controlling person is what keeps the cycle alive. The moment you stop playing by their rules, the power imbalance begins to crumble. Control only works when you comply. And the moment you reclaim your inner freedom, their grip on you loses its strength. Your life is yours, not a contract someone else gets to enforce. 8. Toxic behavior. Breaking trust. Repeatedly. When someone breaks your trust over and over again, the wound isn't just the lie, it's the cycle. They apologize, sometimes with tears. They promise they'll do better. They tell you they never meant to hurt you. And for a moment, you believe them because you want the relationship to work. You want to believe in their potential more than you trust your own experience. But then it happens again, and again, and again. The same behaviors, the same excuses, the same temporary remorse. What changes is not them, it's your threshold for pain. You stop recognizing the difference between forgiveness and self-abandonment. And slowly, you learn to tolerate what you should have walked away from long ago. Stoic philosophy gives you a brutally clear lens. Patterns tell the truth. People can say anything. Words are cheap, promises are endless, and apologies are easy. But behavior is the real language of character. Marcus Aurelius taught that you should judge actions, not declarations. If someone's pattern is inconsistency, betrayal, and disregard, then that is who they are choosing to be. Not who they could become, not who you wish they were, not who they are trying to be. Stoicism frees you from clinging to potential and brings you back to reality, the reality you keep trying to explain away. The correct response is simple and steady. Observe patterns, not promises. You don't need to argue. You don't need to demand change. You don't need to beg for effort. You simply watch what they do consistently and you make decisions based on evidence, not hope. If their behavior repeats, your boundaries must tighten. If their trust-breaking continues, your access must shrink. And if they refuse growth, you must choose peace over loyalty to pain. Some people use apologies as a reset button, not a commitment to change. The moment you stop letting promises blind you to patterns, you reclaim the clarity and the strength they've been relying on you to ignore. 9. Toxic behavior. Using anger or outbursts as control. When someone uses anger as a weapon, the goal is never expression, it's domination. Rage attacks, loud outbursts, slamming doors, intimidation tactics, sudden emotional explosions. These are not just bad tempers. They are strategies designed to make you shrink, submit, and stop questioning their behavior. And when it happens inside a family, it becomes even more confusing. They'll say, "I didn't mean it. I just exploded," or "You know how I am," as if the violence of their reactions is somehow your responsibility to manage. Over time, you learn to predict their anger, avoid their triggers, walk carefully, and silence yourself. Not out of peace, but out of fear. That is not love. That is conditioning. The Stoic perspective cuts through this dynamic with sharp clarity. You are not responsible for another person's emotional storm. Marcus Aurelius taught that every human being is accountable for their own mind and their own reactions. When someone uses anger to control you, what you're witnessing is their inability to govern themselves, not a failure on your part. Their rage is not a reflection of your worth, your effort, or your character. It is a reflection of their inner disorder. And the more you internalize their outbursts, the more power you give them over your life. The only effective response is grounded, firm, and deceptively simple. No engagement. Leave the scene. You cannot reason with someone in the middle of a rage spiral. You cannot soothe them into self-control. You cannot absorb their emotions until they cool down. Engagement feeds the fire. Silence starves it. Leaving removes the fuel completely. Whether it means stepping out of the room, ending a phone call, or physically distancing yourself, the message is the same. Your anger does not control me. When you refuse to participate in their volatility, you reclaim your emotional space and expose the truth. Their power only existed as long as you stayed in the line of fire. Walking away is not weakness, it is mastery, and it is the first step toward breaking a cycle that was never yours to maintain. 10. Toxic behavior. Playing the victim. Playing the victim is one of the most manipulative toxic behaviors because it flips reality upside down and turns your pain into their performance. These individuals rewrite every situation so they become the wounded one, no matter who actually caused the harm. If you set a boundary, they claim you're being cruel. If you express your feelings, they accuse you of attacking them. If you point out a pattern, they collapse into dramatics. Tears, exaggeration, stories twisted to make you feel guilty for simply protecting yourself. This is reverse responsibility. They hurt you, and somehow you end up apologizing. You learn to tiptoe around their reactions, to carry their emotional weight, and to keep peace by abandoning your own truth. Over time, this dynamic erodes your confidence, your clarity, and your ability to trust your own perspective. The Stoic lens gives you a powerful anchor. Your peace, their narrative. You cannot control the story they tell about you. You cannot force them to see facts, acknowledge impact, or take accountability. What you can control is whether their narrative becomes your reality. Marcus Aurelius taught that other people's perceptions are theirs to carry, not yours. When a victim player twists the truth, they're not seeking understanding, they're seeking advantage. And the more you try to prove your innocence, the more power you give their performance. The antidote is quiet strength. State limits once, disengage. You calmly express your boundary. I'm not responsible for your interpretation. Or, that's not accurate for me. And then you step back. No debating. No over-explaining. No emotional rescue missions. Disengagement removes you from their stage, forcing them to sit with their own story without an audience. Victim playing loses its grip the moment you stop playing the role they assigned you. And when you choose peace over their narrative, you reclaim the dignity they've been trying to rewrite. 11. Stoic 4S Protocol. If there is one truth that emerges from all 10 toxic behaviors, it's this: patterns, not excuses, reveal who someone truly is. People can cry, apologize, blame stress, promise change, or insist that you misunderstood them. But repeated behavior is the real teacher. The human mind wants to believe words, but the nervous system responds to patterns. And when the same behavior keeps showing up, manipulation, avoidance, disrespect, blame, volatility, that is no longer an accident. It is a choice. Awareness begins the moment you stop believing excuses and start acknowledging patterns for what they are. But awareness alone isn't enough. It shows you the truth, but it doesn't protect you from it. You've spent years being conditioned to minimize your pain, to soften your reactions, to explain away red flags, especially when they come from family. That's why this transition is so important. Recognizing toxicity is step 1. Creating boundaries is step 2. And boundaries are where your strength, your clarity, and your self-respect finally take shape. This is where the Stoic 4S Protocol becomes your guide, a simple but powerful framework that helps you move from insight to action without being pulled back into guilt, fear, or emotional pressure. See it clearly. Stop romanticizing potential. Stop rewriting reality. Stop labeling hurtful actions as just their personality. Call the behavior what it is. Clarity is the first act of liberation. Stop and breathe. Before reacting, pause. That 2-second gap breaks emotional reflexes shaped over years. It shifts you from survival mode into conscious choice. Anger, guilt, or panic cannot lead you where you need to go. Only a steady breath can. Stay rational. Feelings are real, but they aren't always accurate. Toxic people often rely on chaos or emotional pressure to keep you confused. Stay grounded. Let logic, not guilt, guide your next step. Ask yourself, what is within my control right now? Safeguard your space. This is where boundaries live. Limit access. Reduce emotional exposure. Step back when needed. Decline conversations that go nowhere. Protect your peace the way you protect your physical safety, with firmness, clarity, and consistency. Awareness shows you the pattern. The 4S Protocol helps you step out of it. Together, they allow you to reclaim your life. Not through confrontation, but through clarity and self-respect. You've just uncovered 10 toxic behaviors you should never tolerate. Not even from family. Manipulation, boundary violations, criticism, neglect, envy, control, blame shifting, broken trust, anger, and victim playing all have one thing in common. They erode your peace and reshape how you see yourself. But awareness alone isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning, because once you can name the pattern, you can finally break it. As you move forward, choose one situation in your life where a boundary is overdue. Apply the Stoic 4S Protocol. See it clearly. Stop and breathe. Stay rational. Safeguard your space. Small acts of self-respect create powerful shifts in your emotional world. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You only need the courage to begin. Thank you for spending this time with me today, for choosing clarity over denial and growth over comfort. If this video helped you reclaim even a piece of your strength, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before.